Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Todd coming to you from New Black Wall Street Market Radio inside the New Black Wall Street Market. And I am pleased to be joining you today. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us and hear about a very, very special event that's coming up on December 17th at 1 p.m. here at the New Black Wall Street Market. I have a couple of very, very special guests with me today. But before I introduce them, I want to invite you to check out NBWSM Radio, where our radio station plays from online. And you can also visit the New Black Wall Street Market at nbwsm.com. That's nbwsm.com to find out more about our beautiful 125,000 square foot space we have here, and also find out about upcoming events that we have coming up this month and in future months. So we're about to head into a new year, and I'm pleased to be bringing you a subject and some gentlemen who represent a movement that is going on called the Liberian Renaissance Plan. So I have two very special guests with me. I have Brother Putu and I have Brother Ken Eccles. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. How you feeling there, Brother Todd, and the whole New Black
I'm
Wall
feeling
family?
amazing, brother. I'm feeling amazing. Good to be talking to you guys today. And we'll just kick it off. Brother Putu, if you don't mind, as one of the principles that represents the Liberian Renaissance Plan, could you introduce yourself properly and also just tell us a little bit about yourself and what the Liberian Renaissance Plan is all about?
Well, thank you so much, man, for having us on here to share with your audience out there. By way of introduction, I go by Puruga Takwa Phenom, but affectionately known as Brother Putu, or even the Phenom. And I'm actually Liberian, first generation Liberian, the first in my family to grow up in the United States of America. And I'm actually somebody who was able to, learn a lot about Black American history and American history, and make the correlation and connection to Liberian history and how deeply connected they were, they have been, and they are. And upon recognizing that, I recognize how important it was and is for more people who do not have any direct connection to Liberia to know about it, particularly our Black American family. So I'm the one of the co-founders of the Liberia Heals Initiative, and that was launched in 2012. That has played a pivotal role in keeping peace and stability in Liberia and kicking out Ebola. And we've evolved, and we're now at the point where Liberia is in a renaissance. And a renaissance is pretty much a movement, or when a group of people experience traumatic atrocities, and right after that they start to relearn themselves, and people start thinking of new ideas, new creative ways to survive and move forward. And it's safe to say that it's clear that Liberia is in a renaissance. So we're unveiling a plan to stimulate not only our Liberian people, but our brothers and sisters around the world to be a part of this renaissance that is coming out of Africa's first modern republic. So
Awesome.
That's in a nutshell what it is.
Awesome. That's amazing, man. I'm really looking forward to getting more into that. And before we do that, I just want to ask Mr. Eccles if you could introduce yourself to the people and maybe tell a couple of bullet points about how you got connected with this wonderful movement.
Absolutely. So good morning, everyone. Ken Eccles. I'm an engineer and educator. I've been passionate about renewable energies and additive manufacturing and development of processes and anything engineering. As Pudu mentioned about that journey and that growth and that change, I found myself walking down a path to find roots and to reconnect. And I was fortunate enough to meet with some brothers like Pudu And because we shared the same common goals, we were able to connect and start to bridge different niches. You have history, you have technology, and we start putting these things together to start seeing how they can make change for the better.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that. Um, Engineer and an activist historian, man. You just imagine what's going to come out of a union like that. I'm really looking forward to getting into that. So, Brother Putu, you mentioned Liberia being in a Renaissance period right now. Can you take us maybe a few years back into maybe some of the things that were going on and bring us up to today as briefly as possible concerning how Liberia reached that period of Renaissance where now it's a renewing of things in that area?
Definitely, thank you so much. And it is really something that really deserves a lot of time to go into it. So if I were to shorten it, I would say this: when you look at Liberia's history at its inception, um, it's very unique compared to any other country around the world, even. Um, what it was is that there was a point in time in American history where the ruling class, the white establishment at that time, grew concerned about the rise of rebellions, slave revolts, and things of that nature. And plans were devised to see how they could get a portion or as many African Americans and former slaves and free African Americans that were a threat to the plantation and the whole institution of slavery. This is early on in the early 1800s. And something came about called the American Colonization Society. And what that did was that they started funding the transport of, African Americans from, places like Maryland, Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, all up the East Coast to West Africa, area in before it was known as Liberia. So it was known as the Grain Coast at that time, and there were groups of people there already, tribes, social ethnic groups already there, and now upon that connection, and that when you have people coming from abroad and people already there, and there was a
Mhm.
nation that was formed. There was some challenges. There was a lot of challenges along the way. Um, so, and that was at the root of some of the wars and trials that Liberia has had along the way. But not to mention how the global institution of white supremacy and the world powers at the time, also tried to disturb the progress. So yeah, there was wars, there was struggles, power struggles, Ebola, most recently, and disturbances in the political process. Now, now we're at the point now where Liberian people who now are, you know, interconnected, the people who came from abroad mixed in with the people who are already there, the indigenous, or intermingled. People are relearning themselves, and the Liberian people are really re-understanding themselves in their relationship to the outside world, to Africa in particular, in the African diaspora. So now in this renaissance and relearning, so you're going to see that expressed through music, through arts, through the culture, and through new technologies as well. So that's kind of like in a nutshell what it is, to kind of put it somewhat brief.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. While you were talking, I was thinking about what happened in South Africa when apartheid was lifted and how South Africa has been growing quite a bit. And just, I'm sure there could be some parallels drawn there, even though the situations were a little different. I can see how the positioning where Liberia is right now is really ripe for, investment, for change, for people connecting across borders, not only in the continent but also here in the United States. I can see more clearly now once you give that explanation of the plan. So that's great, man. And you mentioned technology, right? And I want to start with to bring Ken in just for a brief moment. So Ken, you having been connected with Brother Putu and being an engineer, having a technology head, so to speak, where do you see the role of technology in that renaissance and that reemerging of the Liberian people?
So one of the problems that we have, even just as a diaspora, we are consumers and not producers.
Mm,
And because of that, we have a bottleneck. We have a bottleneck of growth. We can't do more for ourselves because we're dependent on other systems.
mm,
And so what we look to do is flip that coin and convert from consumers to producers. And this is all through the means of becoming self-sustainable. So many of these items that we are implementing are just different stages by anyone in diaspora can become self-sustainable and you can produce more for yourself. So if we start talking about things like creating our own municipalities, right? These things
mm.
that we rely on to live, power, water, any types of energies, we don't own these facilities. And so what we look to do is teach how we can build our own facilities and ownership.
Amazing, amazing. And so in driving an economy, just even and today our entire every economy is a global economy, right? With the internet and with the global connectivity that we have. So does that make it much easier than, let's just say, several years ago, in your opinion, Ken, to support that sustainability of a country like Liberia? Is that easier today than it used to be? I guess is my general question.
There are two parts to that. Uh, Logistically, it is easier. When it comes to technology and implementation, it's very easy. But unconditioned, the conditions that we live in, or the oppression that we are conditioned under, we have to unlearn those processes. So that's the difficulty there. And so this is when we come in teaching, hey, we don't have to rely on these systems. We have the ability and the know-how to build our own. And so those are those steps that we go through to integrate these processes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Brother Putu, back to you. So, in considering history, right? I've done some research on the continent, and they're having more and more discoveries every day that show technologies that existed a millennia ago that we never even knew existed back then, but they existed in antiquity, even in many cases in the continent. But today, people really don't know that. So where does history kind of align with that particular aspect of things?
Yeah, and that kind of correlates to what Ken was saying as far as unlearning the miseducation. That's where the history comes in, because if we just only solely focus on the technology, people may not get it and see it and put it into context. And if we only focus on the history, then it's just theoretical. We have to have a combination, and that's why we have this merge of history and technology. So you are so right that there's a plethora of ancient knowledge, technology, ideas, vision that has existed in Africa for centuries, but because the way that the world was organized, and you have things like the transatlantic slave trade, the disruption of Africa, of great empires of the past, and the destruction of those empires. A lot of this information and history has been lost. So you have a generation, of people, African people, who sometimes don't even believe, don't even can't even conceive of being the innovators and creators of their own systems and their own technologies and things of that nature. you know so what we're here to do is to help to revive, that fervor and revive that energy, and get people to understand that what we're doing is not something that hasn't been done, in the past. We have been had great empires in the past, and but we had a disruption. It may have lasted several hundred years, or whatever the case, but we are here to put ourselves on a rightful place, in history again, through taking the technology of the diaspora that's around the world, and connecting it with the technology and history of that's on the continent, already. So we look to do that, and show an example, really, in Liberia.
Awesome, awesome. You have
So
something to add to
I
that,
can add,
Brother Eccles?
I do from a technological standpoint, and just to speak on what has existed right in front of our faces and not realizing how dynamic it is. On the continent, they build houses or homes, buildings, whatever, with what they call earth blocks, if you've heard of that, right? And so we look to do work with compressed earth blocks. Now, what this simply is just a more robust brick, right? A load-bearing brick. Imagine the cement blocks that you're used to seeing that they build with
Mm-hmm.
construction, but it's more sustainable because it's actually made from what they call laterite, which is the
Mm.
natural clays on the continent, right? And so when you look at combining 90% laterite with about 10% cement, it creates a really robust, strong, load-bearing brick that is sustainable and has a better thermal mass and some other things. So why do we care about this? When you think about some of the buildings that have been here the longest, what are they made of? The
Mm.
structures that we know that are here, what are they made of?
Cement.
If you look at things like the pyramids, that's stone, that's cement, that's
Mm.
those textiles, right? And so these are those types of concepts that we need to revisit that can drive down overhead costs, that can improve the timeline for construction, and can minimize waste.
Gotcha.
Definitely.
Wow. That is a great example. Yeah. So, Brother Puti, you have something to add to that?
I mean, just again to think about it. When we talk about the industrial revolutions, within the last 200 years, or how places like Europe, America, and other places were developed, a lot of the resources came from Africa, to help build up the infrastructure of much of the developed world. Okay, so all we're doing now is utilizing the resources that already exist in Africa to build up the infrastructure right there. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what it is now. Africa and the so-called third world, most of the so-called third world did not benefit from these industrial revolutions that build up the infrastructure of what we call the developed world, and we need this is what we're going to be doing through
Mm-hmm.
um, these endeavors.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, and I see, and most people will begin to see more clearly how technology plays a great role in that, because we're way past the industrial revolution, but we're in the technology age now, where technology drives economies, in a very real way. So, Brother Eccles, what are some of the other examples that you may be able to touch on? The brick or the building material you just mentioned is, I mean, it's a brilliant example, and I could see how that could literally revolutionize building and construction in Liberia and other countries in Africa as well. But what are some of the other sustainability, and none and some things that may not necessarily be all about sustainability, perhaps? However, some of the other examples of technology that you see playing a big role in revolutionizing and driving the renaissance of Liberia?
The two major pieces, energy and clean water.
Hmm.
When you look at the numbers of deaths around the world, most of them related to not having access to clean water. And so those are the biggest changes we can make. Implementing more renewable energy systems, solar, wind turbines, hydro, all those things can be driven on the continent or even here, in the US. We just need to learn how to utilize these more and eliminate a lot of the misconceptions that we have about utilizing these technologies. The biggest thing that I think that is going to make that change, though, is understanding how to process clean water and
Hmm.
harvesting clean water. And we have some technologies that we're playing with that will open the door for that. There are a
Hmm.
few people that are toying with the idea of atmospheric water generators,
Hmm.
if you're familiar with that. And this is basically a form of pulling the moisture already in the air. When we talk about humidity and the water content in the air, imagine being able to be somewhere in the desert, for example, and have devices that can actually pull that moisture out of the air and produce water for you to consume.
Hmm. That's amazing. So I would just one of my thoughts while you were talking about that is expensive. The word expensive kept coming to my head. Developing something that technologically advanced has to be super expensive. Is that the case?
No, it's not. It's all about how you scale production,
Hmm.
and what drives prices up is logistics and possibly advertising and all the hands that go into developing that product. If we say, for example, like something like the iPhone,
Hmm.
you're paying a lot of people to develop that iPhone. You're paying a lot of people that advertise for that iPhone. You got a lot of people that develop software for that iPhone. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
There's a lot of people that you pay, and you have to pay for shipping goods, and that takes up a lot of that price.
Hmm.
So when you think about what Pudu is saying, where is everyone getting most of their natural resources?
Right.
So
Hmm.
imagine if we're now setting up our own production and manufacturing literally in the space where we get these natural resources. We can now eliminate a lot of the costs involved with that development.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's a great segue into my next question. So, and both of you may be able to answer this, but I'm going to throw it at you, Brother Putu. So let's speak a hypothetical situation, right? Let's just say that there was a plant developed in Liberia, a global distribution center for and manufacturing center for those machines that you mentioned that can pull moisture out of the air and create clean water. And also, let's just say one also for the building material, to development of the building material that you suggested. I know those are just two examples of probably many, but let's just say that actually happened. That's on the ground right now, and it's up and running. What does that mean for Liberia and the Liberian people? What does that mean in a very practical sense that you can mention, Brother Putu?
I mean, it means everything. It means sovereignty. Something that has supposed to have been in place since its inception. Okay, Liberia being the first modern African republic, it has embedded within its constitution also a Negro clause, which you have to be black to own property, to be a citizen. With that embedded in its constitution, the only country that has that, um, there has always its sovereignty has always been challenged to prevent what you're talking about. That scenario of having such a setup like that in Liberia. So by being able to have, manufacturing, and production factories right there in Liberia. That means all the exports, that important exports like rubber, iron ore, gold, diamonds, everything, um, you know, all of those things there, the finished products can be put right, it can be finished right there in Liberia. So you're talking about a whole new economy now, you know, a whole new economy. Because the way that the economy is set up right now in Liberia, the biggest employer, the largest employer for Liberia, can you guess that? Just take a wild guess. You might get it.
Hmm.
Take a wild guess about the time. Okay. The biggest
Uh,
employer, did you say
I was
this?
gonna say, Apple iPhone.
The biggest employer in Liberia is the government of Liberia.
Well, the government that
Government,
that actually makes sense. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, it makes sense now, right?
yeah.
So everybody in there, if in Liberia, is always looking to the government and into politics, and that's why politics has a grip on a nation. So now, when we talk about setting up such a system, now people are looking into the private sector, now for opportunities and job creation and things like that. So yeah, something like that would revolutionize the whole country.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. And as I was saying that, I was projecting that that will be a reality, and soon. And I just marveled at the fact that the the just the name Renaissance, it just brings so much with it, in terms of the opportunity to restructure, recreate, and reinvent themselves. The Liberia has a chance to reinvent itself. Like you said, the first modern republic. That means a lot in saying that, because in the continent, it's one of those situations where the rising tide lifts all boats. So the Liberia can't have a renaissance without impacting all of the countries around it. You know what I mean? So that's what makes that such a beautiful concept with the plan. So tell us a little bit more about the plan itself. Or actually, let me just skip that part and tell me a little bit more about the tour. So this is this the first stop on the tour at the New Black Wall Street Market, and if so, how is that going to progress? How do you see that rolling out over the next few years?
Yeah, so it's the rollout. There was just an election a few weeks ago, and there's a new president that's coming in who was the former vice president under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf a few years ago. The current president is the former football or soccer star George Weah. So he's going out, and he conceded very quickly, and which kind of set a precedent too in an area where a lot of times people try to cling on to power. So all we were doing was kind of waiting for that to happen, for us to know exactly who was going to be what the administration was going to be now. So Atlanta we're launching it in Atlanta, where there's a big population of Liberians, but there are multiple cities across the United States that have a very big Liberian diaspora who we need to get involved, as well as other people outside of the Liberian diaspora to get involved. So places like DC, we got DC in January. Got Minnesota, Philadelphia, Houston. These are all melting pots where you have a Liberian diaspora that have connected with African Americans, people from the Caribbean, and other Africans, to be a part of it. And of course, on the ground, we actually have people who are in Liberia right now, who are, who are part of this whole movement. And so we just initiating it. What better place to initiate it than in Atlanta, where it's kind of like has been a mecca for Black wealth and Black, progression for so many years. So yeah, looking forward to connecting with our brothers and sisters in Atlanta, as well as whoever sees value in this. We're looking forward to connecting with you all at New Black Wall Street.
Yeah, that part. And let me tell you, man,
Can I add something to that?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I just want to emphasize, even though it's coined the Liberian Renaissance Plan, this is not limited to. These are concepts that all people of the diaspora can benefit from.
Right. Right. That's a great point. That's a great point to mention. Yeah, because it's going to take an effort of all of us, both here in the U.S. as well as Liberia. And you just mentioned all of the Liberians that are in Minnesota and D.C. and California, all these other states, and it's the same for nations. There are Black people everywhere on this planet. You know what I mean? There are Africans
Absolutely.
everywhere on this planet. There are Liberians everywhere on this planet. So just tying those different strands together and bringing everyone together under one umbrella it's a beautiful thing. I look forward to witnessing all of this roll out and being a part of that as well. And I'm so glad that you chose to make the New Black Wall Street Market ground zero for the launching of that plan and of that rollout of that tour, because that in itself resonates really well, especially with people here in the United States. And that's going to help bring a lot more attention to that movement. So I really appreciate you bringing that here to us, Brother Putu. And it was an honor for me to help you, get roots in the ground here at the New Black Wall Street Market. So if someone wanted to find out a little bit more after listening to this interview about the plan, where would they go to find that out, Brother Putu?
Okay, so right now, the social media will be the best place to connect with us. This is a growing movement, and we're putting things out there as as needed. So you can follow me on Instagram and Brother Ken on Instagram as well. Yeah, let him share his Instagram. Mine is at PUTU Music, or at PUTU MUSIC. You can follow us on follow me on there, and Brother Ken is actually at MRKOEJ. That again at MRKOEJ. And
Okay.
there are definitely others right now, but we're stepping forward to kind of let the people know, hey, we're here. And as we go along, there will be more ways to reach out to all the different people.
Absolutely. Brother Ken, is there a web, or just gentlemen, is there a website as well?
We have not developed a website just yet. There's so much to do before we launch a presence on the web, on a website at least, but we can look forward to developing something.
Yeah, web page is it's going to be coming up.
Yeah, I would definitely like to help you work on that as well when that time comes. So yeah, we'll definitely keep in contact for that. So any last words that you guys want to share with the people before we sign out?
Yeah, to your point there, this is a growing movement, and there are areas that we don't have all the answers. There are other people out there who have parts and pieces and ways to contribute. So we definitely look forward to people reaching out and being part and learning about what we have going on. Again, if you're in the Atlanta area, or even if you're not in the Atlanta area, call somebody who is in the Atlanta area and let them know to be at the New Black Wall Street Mall on December 17th. That's a Sunday. It's at 1 p.m. We're going to be there between 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. So even if you get out of church, you can head straight to New Black Wall Street and be prepared to have a life-changing event.
Awesome. So lastly, can you tell people what to expect when they actually do come to the event? What kind of things are going to be happening during the program?
Okay, yeah. So this interview was a great kind of a template, in the sense you're going to get a great historical perspective and understanding about Liberia and why Liberia and what's going on, so you can be brought up to speed. That's kind of be like the first half, and there might be some surprise performances as well. And then you're gonna have the technical part, which Brother Ken is going to spearhead. You might get some live demonstration of some of the gadgets. This Brother Ken, man, he hasn't, you see in the workshop over there, that man is something else there. You never know what he's going to bring and show you live in the present. This is not theoretic or theoretical, it's practical. So that's what you can expect. There's going to be a few people who are doing a lot of other great things that we'll recognize and be a part there. So look forward to networking and, just come looking forward to have a good time and be inspired and to be a part of this renaissance that's extended beyond Liberia. We just, it's just a tip of the iceberg.
Gotcha. Brother Eccles, give you a chance to kind of tease the people. You got a gadget you're gonna pull out of your bag that they might be interested in checking out?
Absolutely. Let's see. I think one of the areas that I didn't speak a lot about is manufacturing and 3D printing. And so one of the areas that we really look to make a difference is in prosthetics.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so you have a lot of people that are plagued with disabilities because they've been through life, man. And so these are some of the applications that we look to expose the people to say, this is what we have access to now. We can do this for ourselves.
Wow.
Who designed that?
Is that your own design?
We are capable of designing all things.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That is amazing. I look forward to see everything that you want to talk about. I look forward to learning more history about Liberia and the current renaissance that's happening there. Folks, you've just talked to two amazing gentlemen who are both going to be here on December 17th at the New Black Wall Street Market, 8109 Mall Parkway in Stonecrest, Georgia. Make sure you come. We're starting at 1 p.m. And there's going to be a lot of surprises that come. You just saw one of the powerful pieces of technology that they're working on, and there's a lot more in store than that. So if you want to find out more, stay tuned here. You can also visit nbwsm.com. That's our website at the New Black Wall Street Market. There'll be more information there. You can also visit nbwsmradio.com. This interview will likely be replayed there as well. And you can check our social media out. Just search New Black Wall Street Market, and you'll find this video that's going to be posted within the next 48 hours to get a good preview of what may happen at the event on December 17th at 1 p.m. And lastly, we just want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking and sharing us across your social media networks. And we look forward to seeing you on December 17th at the New Black Wall Street Market. Thank you, and God bless. See you all later.